don't know if you can see that in the video. It's snowing, it's cold, and I'm doing this as a, no pun intended, fill-in for somebody else. There are days, there are days. Oh boy. Fun. Hello everybody. Alright, so we're going to try something a little bit different with audio and video here. We'll see, hopefully it works. So what we're going to talk about today is a deck building term or technique called goldfishing. Basically what it is you are playing against a imaginary opponent who's having the worst luck in the world. They've played nothing, they've got no land out, just there's no interaction. What it lets you do is see what your deck is actually going to do and is capable of once you toss in randomization instead of just the theory crafting. So what we've got here is basically my classic beast deck here. It's basically the first deck I ever really started learning how to build with. And we're going to shuffle it up and we're going to do a round of goldfish here. Basically what I like to do, you can go to the point where you've dealt 20 damage, but one thing that I also like to do is set a sort of cap on the turns. Normally by turn 4 I find you should be pretty much up and running and ready to have whatever the deck is supposed to be doing happen. Should be up and ready to happen. Beyond that, turn 5 and 6 should basically be you're done. You've finished off the opponent. But I like to play very aggressive aggro-based decks. So you can change that cap for whatever suits what the goal of the deck is. All right. So, anyways, we're shuffled up. There's the deck. We draw our 7. All right. So we have a wild growth, forest, Croson War Chief, and Felwar Stone. Alright, so with that in mind, I'm going to say that I'm going to go first, not my opponent, so I will not draw on my first turn. I will play a land, tap that, enchant it with wild growth. Again, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you know how to play the game, and you're just looking for deck building advice to maybe become a little bit more advanced or just up your game a little bit. So with that said, I'd say pass, my opponent goes, they don't do anything, nothing happens. I untap, draw, turn 2. I drew a Sky Shroud Ridgeback. And I'm going to play a Forest. And tap my one force that's enchanted, and my one that's not, for 3 mana to play Croson War Chief. From there, I say pass turn. Nothing happens, I get to untap and go. Turn 3, I drew a Llanowar Elves. I'm going to play a Forest. For 2, I'm going to play my other War Chief. Again, I am pretending I'm against an opponent, right? So this is where, well, if I just want to go all out and theory craft, I would play maybe the Felwar Stone that's in my hand, or the Ridgeback and the Llanowar Elves that's in my hand. But because it's just supposed to be in an actual game, I have to be thinking, I might want to actually leave that 2 mana available. Oops. Because if you look, if I can get to focus, I can regenerate target beast for 2. So while the opponent doesn't exist, I can sort of, again, imagine that, well, what if it's a red deck that I'm playing against, and he has land untapped? Yeah, he hasn't done anything, but that means that he has a full hand that probably has some burn spells on it. It'd be awfully handy if I could keep my war chiefs around. So what I'll do instead is attack for 2. So they're at 18. Okay, my turn. Turn 4 is coming around now. I drew a Rancor. So I'm going to tap that for my Felwar Stone. I'm going to imagine that they've got green in their deck as well. Say it's a green-red deck, just because. Tap that for the Rancor on him. And I'm going to attack all out for 6. They're now at 12. Go. Next turn. I'm not getting any of my big guys. This is surprising. But that's the whole point of this. I draw a forest. So this is actually kind of a firing off for this deck. This deck has a lot of big creatures in it, and I'm not drawing them. I'm not getting them, and I'm also not getting any of my card draw that is in this deck. So again, this is the idea of showing what can happen with the randomization, showing of shuffling, showing what things come together and what doesn't, without you actually being in like a tournament type scenario when you're just sitting at home trying to build the deck. By the by, drew a forest. So place that down. I will, for 1 and that, play Ridgeback and a Llanowar Elves and attack all out for another 6. So I've dealt 14 damage total. They're at 6. I believe it's 14 damage total now. Should be. Anyways. Say go. Next turn. Draw another Ridgeback. So literally all my smallest creatures possible is what I've drawn here. But yeah, I hold that in my hand. Attack for 8. And dealt 20 damage. There we go. Job done. But the point of this being that, like I said, there are bigger cards in here. There are meaner cards in here. If I take the deck and kind of go through, there's, let's see, Raven's Baloth, 4/4 for 4. Put the Rancor on them, not bad. Rocks, 5/5 for 6 that you can have deal damage, though it weren't blocked, has its own regeneration. Again, toss Rancor on it. There we go. There's Hystrodon, 3/4 Trampler that whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, 4/5, or the Morph cost, which is 3 to flip it up. Or because of those, well, all of a sudden I'm looking at that for 3. Like it's stuff like that is what's in here that's kind of the bigger, meaner stuff. Did I draw any of that? No, that was literally me just going off of the very bottom of this deck. Everything that way was on the bottom. So again, though, it's not just about how this deck runs. It's not about how fast can I get it to go off. It's showing you what's in the deck. And there have been plenty of times when I've used this technique to build decks and test decks that I found that the deck that I was building was trying to actually do something else and actually liked the way that it was going. So I essentially scrapped my old idea and went with this one that I had stumbled upon and ended up with decks that I was very, very happy with. So it's definitely something to consider using. Definitely something to add to your deck building toolbox, as it were. If you like this video, like it, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna start doing a series with a whole bunch of techniques and tools and stuff that I know how to use to make better decks. Because trust me, building good decks out of classic stuff that can compete nowadays is insane. So it's having these tools for crazy stuff like that always helpful. But yeah, we'll have a series going with this, and hopefully you guys enjoy it, and we'll talk to you guys soon.